Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I will be playing the KULT Divinity Lost role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. Before we start, I want to remind our listeners that August 18th to 21st, a group of our players and GMs, including myself, will be attending Necronomicon 2022 in Providence, Rhode Island. It's H.P. Lovecraft's 132nd birthday, and it's going to be a blast. If you come and see us, if you see us, come and say hello. We love meeting our fans. The campaign is Black Madonna. It is available from Helmgast. I'm the Game Master, and this is episode 16. The recap will be given by Josh Harwood as his character, Andrei Vishenko. So without any further delay, let's continue our journey into the darkness. Josh?
Thank you, voice in my head. It has been strange times. Very strange. My dear mother of my children, should I say, cross that out. I do not want to write this to you, but you're the only one who will ever listen, so I say listen, nag me, but yes, it is how it goes. So where I left you off, we were in this realm, this mad place. We're crossing a bridge. We entered the orphanage, and we came across Kalenko. Yeah, he's strange, man. Kept trying to get us to go in elevator. You know what I'm like. I do not like elevator. It is how it goes. Bad experience in elevators, and he kept trying to force us down. Eventually, we went in the elevator. I, grabbed hold of people, went into a corner, and we went down. And I was correct to be worried about going down elevator because we're basically in hell. And I mean hell. You won't believe me, you'll just think I'm drunk or something, but that is my dear friend Eckhart. He is becoming a drunk. Poor man. He's got many years ahead of him. I will save him. That's the worst thing. I don't have friends, you know me. I just have acquaintances. Now these are all friends, so I don't know what to do with myself. I feel a big weight on my shoulder with them around. But I can't leave them. It's not in my nature anymore. But yes, we continued, and we came across our target. One of the three. Well, after some trying to free the children, that is. They were in the grates, poking their fingers out. It was like little sausages poking out. It was awful. We could not free them. So we ended up in this fight. It felt pointless. But I used an old tactic. It actually worked this time. I didn't kill any friendlies. Rip Pavel. You are still missed. But I put a grenade down his throat with the help of the people who are more inclined to the dream magic or whatever it is. They helped restrain him and made him blind. That Mr. Magoo or whatever. I do not understand some of these references. But you understand, you know me. And then his head went. It actually worked. It went everywhere. It actually worked, my mad idea. And then we freed the children. We freed Piotr. We freed all the children. We actually did it. Could never harm a child. And then we were met with the Wanderer again, who revealed themselves to be Piotr. And we freed Piotr. And when we returned to the waking world, or whatever it is it real? Is it not? Who knows? Piotr had died, but grasping his doll. We no longer had the doll, but that was one mystery solved. We are now waiting on for priest to come along, and then we may head to Moscow for our next journey. Who knows what's next for us? But at least one out of the three is gone. I hope to, well, I hope to see the kids. I don't hope to see you. But I do miss you, my love. Yes, yes, your dear husband, no, not husband. Shit, I better cross that out. Your dear ex-husband and, father of the children. Andrei Vishchenko.
I hope she does know your name.
No, she doesn't.
All right. So you have returned to the waking world. You're in your apartment. You've been there for a couple of days. You've seen the newspapers and you've read about Piotr, and you've contacted the insane asylum. So the one thing that you've noticed over the last couple of days, as you're still waiting, there seems to be a bit of unrest that seems to be rising up in Leningrad. There's areas of the city that have been struck with bouts of cholera, and there just seems to be a lot of it. It just sort of seems like the crime rate is growing. You're seeing a lot more news like that in the newspaper, though you have no idea what might be. I mean, other than just the general fluctuations of the way things go. Cholera, though, is an unusual one because it's something that was a big problem, years ago. But
say what you will for the Soviets, but plumbing wasn't a weak point.
Right.
Picking up German language newspapers, is there much to do about our continued the ongoing search for us as a group of criminal masterminds?
There's a number of it's really kind of died down from the papers, but there are still rumors of sightings of you here and there, that they're not true, but your names are continuing to get stuck in the newspaper mill, and criminals still at large after the insane satanic slaughter of noted officials or noted important people.
And the journalist that I met with, how's her progress in uncovering the germanische Gemeinschaft?
She's noted that she noted for a while that there was a great deal of corruption going on there, that obviously members of the upper echelons were covering stuff up. She had a pretty good strong, she had a pretty strong link with Gemeinschaft, that a lot of money had gone to them.
Mm-hmm.
And just rumors that they've got to be up to something. There's a movement. They've always been a political movement trying to ultimately overthrow the government. They're neo-Nazis.
Right. Well, while we were recovering, I jot a note to her in Berlin so that she's aware, perhaps if she's not already, of the connection to the Slava group. Because one good turn deserves another, and hopefully we'll see her again. Is the cholera outbreak specific to Leningrad?
Yes.
St. Petersburg?
Yeah.
Concentrated in certain neighborhoods, or
here and there throughout the city. Nobody's quite sure where it's originating. But people have had to been hospitalized, and it's actually a fairly simple thing to treat, but it can be pretty rough. Everybody gets diarrhea. Fortunately, you guys haven't. You've been unaffected.
One other nice thing about staying in fancy digs. Sure.
It is an odd thing, even for this.
Were there other things you wanted to look into while you were here in Leningrad?
Well, we want to go back to the church and see if we can meet.
Right. While you're waiting
Bishop.
for that, was there anything else you wanted to try and look up?
Plenty of bottled water. I don't want the shits.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'd be curious, I'll ask our Russian speakers, but I'll also follow the, German papers that come here. If there's any other sort of event parallel to a cholera outbreak in Moscow, if there's some, recent spate of crime or illness or missing persons or suicides or anything else that seems worth reporting on.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's political leaders here and there. There's military leaders that are in the newspaper lately. The general tension of the average person has gotten higher. You have run across a couple of references to Slava. And after doing a little looking around, they're not so secret as you had first thought. They present themselves as a political group that's been around for a while. And basically they are pro-czarist. They would like very much for things to go back the way they were before communism. And they're trying to do it all in legitimate means, but they seem to have a lot of, influence and money. They have a headquarters, but it's not here. It's in Moscow. And but they have a surprising amount of political influence. There's a lot of people in Russia that really thought that communism was a failure and that things were better, back when the Tsar was in power. So they would all like that to happen again. Plus, they have support from countries all over the world with all of the diaspora from the, the people that fled Russia when the communist revolution came. That's at least what that's what all you find, that's what they're purporting to be.
It is worth people maybe looking into Slava when we get to Moscow. I could even use my disguising abilities to infiltrate a little bit.
Although, again, if anybody is going to be recognized, you are perhaps most at risk.
I am, but as long as I actually get my head out the gutter and my master of disguise comes into play, I might be okay.
I have to say, I am still weary, but having defeated one of these incarnations, I feel less hopeless now than I have for some time.
I feel fire, don't you? Like I feel on fire afterward.
I feel less terrified and miserable. That might be the same as on fire. I don't know. I
guess it is the way. Usually after a victory like that, I would pour everyone a shot of vodka and we talk, but not with Eckhart around, not with Ingolf. We cannot be doing that with him around.
One of the names that does come up quite a bit now in the newspaper is a general in the Russian military. He's General Strelkov. He's in this colonel in the Soviet. He was a colonel in the Soviet Air Force. He's coming to prominence, so you're starting to see his name in the newspaper. There is concern for a buildup of military that's going on, but the response from the military is, we're here to make sure everybody is safe, but other groups are quite concerned.
Do you think that there could be any more research while we're here that could be done on death magic or that black tome that we've recently learned about? Or do you think we've exhausted those ends? And John, I know that's kind of your domain.
Well, no, there was the one fella that I met at the library who put me onto this Westlake character in the first place, and mentioned about death magic. So I'm guessing they might know something, but I was quite wary of prodding them in case they ended up working for someone that was very counter to us. But as all those elements seem to have gone now in town, hopefully along with the incarnate, then maybe it might be safer to approach them now.
There are, I mean, just like anywhere else in the world, there are occult groups, everywhere. Some are more open than others.
Have we explored any of the local, like occult shops and stores, things like that?
Not
You
particularly.
wouldn't let us down this path in the first place, I bet.
I have considered, I've certainly had correspondence with booksellers in esoterica in various places, but the ongoing problem of identity has so far, and urgency, has kind of interfered with that so far. Since we're leaving town, it might not be insane to see if I can look into an esoteric bookshop, give a false name.
Right.
And
it may not be a terrible idea if we could plant a seed, I don't know, between all of us with contacts, that we've been sighted far away from here, maybe still in Germany or France or something like that. Give the impression that we're on the move, but away from Russia. We could maybe plant that seed.
Right. Yes. Do you think that?
Yes, we could do that.
I wonder if one of my foreign bookseller friends, somebody in Belgium or France, would be willing to, accept a fax of a blurry photograph and then, let it slip. It's worth a try. I wouldn't mind having, if Interpol cares, and presumably they do, wouldn't mind spreading a little falsity.
It's definitely something that Petra could assist with. She's got connections.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do on that front for sure. Did you have a thought, Andre?
Well, I know I'm not the only ex-KGB around. I keep in contact with a couple via little ghost messages. I guess is how we keep in contact after we've disappeared, because we can't go face to face, otherwise we might get. But I could use some of them. Maybe I can try and get a ghost message out, and maybe they can create a ghost trap, if you say.
Anyway, if you or John were to accidentally reveal or overplay your hand, at least we'd have multiple sources putting us in different places, which adds to confusion, if nothing else.
Yes. I'm pretty sure one of my ex-KGB friends was last sighted in England, so that would be rather a good diversion.
A couple of us are known to speak English, so it wouldn't be absurd that we had gotten there.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Okay.
So perhaps after we see the Dark Bishop and have made plans to go to Moscow, I'll see what the most promising. I mean, I guess I can visit occult shops in the meantime, but given that they'll mostly be carrying things in a language I don't speak, it's hard to be very efficient. I could case a couple joints with Andre and see what has the biggest selection in German and English occult materials. Just, this death magic subject is something that I don't have anyone here to talk to about.
I could disguise myself as a famous bookseller. I don't know.
Or a tour guide
Yes,
for a little less flair.
that is true. I might draw a bit more attention if I pretend to be someone famous.
All right. So a few days have gone by, and what did you want to do about the bishop? Were you going to go there and see?
Well, our friend Dmitry Nesterov told us that Bishop Chizenko would be back in a few days. So I think, yeah, just visiting, and at an hour we expect to be between services.
Okay. So are you all going to go?
Yes.
Why not?
All right. You travel to, I think, St. John's Church. Is it St. John's Church? No, yeah, okay, it was St. John's Church. You head to St. John's Church, and there are services had let out earlier. And you go into the church, you recognize that you've been there a couple of times. You don't see Nesterov in his usual spot. You come inside, and eventually you get the attention of one of the priests, and he comes over and he says, "Yes, can I help you with something?"
Don't all rush at once.
Have to cut your tongue. Yeah.
Yeah.
He realizes you don't understand Russian all of a sudden, so he says it in German. Can I help you with something?
I then speak in Russian just to confuse him.
You need to unmute.
My mute. Hello, am I fine?
No, I was
Yeah,
me.
no.
We can hear you.
Was
Yeah,
he?
we're good.
We were hoping to see the bishop, Chizenko. We met him before, and he invited us back, but he recently has been out of town, and we are leaving soon.
This, unfortunately, Bishop Chizenko seems to have been called away for some reason. He was here for just a very short period. He packed up his things and has vanished. We don't know exactly where he's going.
He was called away by the church, you mean?
We don't honestly know what's called him away. It seems like he left under his own volition, but nobody seems to know what's up.
He didn't have any, there was no place to send any effects he left behind, or?
None at all. He's never done this before, but he does occasionally travel around the circuit of churches, but he always tells somebody where he's going. In this case, he came in rather abruptly. He grabbed the icon painter as well, Nesterov. And Nesterov assisted him in carrying his trunks out to the car, and they drove off. I'm not sure to where. It might have something to do with the recent attacks. There was, the communists are not exactly friendly towards the religious, and although it seems they leave us alone for a while, they always want to make it sure that we know that they're in charge. They could have transferred him somewhere, or it wouldn't be the first time that a clergyman was placed in prison. I'm sorry, but I don't know when he'll be back.
Of course, how could you? Well, thank you for your time. It's a pity that Nesterov is gone too. I'm sure that the bishop, when he has the opportunity, will be in touch with us again.
Indeed. Thank you.
Thanks, and whatever you people do. Well, on the street, that doesn't sound like a coincidence.
No, not at all.
No.
Do you think that
Strange.
he is avoiding us, or do you feel that the agents of Chigidiel have a long reach?
I don't think he's avoiding us. He might be anticipating us in Moscow or somewhere else, or he might be responding to some counterattack that we don't have any understanding of. That doesn't seem unreasonable. As much as anything here seems reasonable. So, given that our, would-be mentors cut loose, Petra, maybe
Start
you
making some
should
calls.
look for a place in Moscow, and maybe Andre and I will do our occult bookshop run. Maybe Eckhart should look ahead to Moscow.
Well, I don't know where exactly I'd be looking.
Well, we could see if there's a headquarters for Slava.
Mhm.
They've got a public address.
Yeah, there is.
I bet it's just going to be the cousin of that thing we saw at the Germanische Gemeinschaft building, though.
Well, if it has an address, I'll take a look at it.
And then Miller, you can watch him and make sure he doesn't start aneurysming.
Yeah. Then once he's finished, and he can watch over me when I can always try and track down our painter if he is human. See if he dreams, then I can hopefully find out where he's got to.
Now, since you've been
Good
teaching me about dreaming, is there some way we can combine that?
Well, yeah, we can link each other's dreams with the art of dreaming we've been taught. Either one of us can pull the other one in, depending on who gets there first, and then either pull the rest in or do what we need to do together. So yeah, we've got options.
Good. Well, I'll trust you to be the lead. It's still all mysterious to me.
Can't find it, but they definitely do give a headquarters for Slava. It's in an old palace, I think right on the river.
How apt for the Tsarists.
Yeah.
So
All right,
and just on your way back from the bookstores, I mentioned this before, but it's worth stating again. We are out of vodka somehow.
Going to give Andre an aneurysm. Calm down, Ingolf.
Ingolf, we are out of vodka. I downed well, I didn't down the last one. There was only a drop left, but I drank the last drop of the last bottle. I am not buying you any more. If I see you with a bottle, I am slapping it out of your hand. I am getting you sober. You are not ending up like me. You have got many years ahead of you. I am nearly a 60-year-old man. You are a young boy. You can get this. You can kick this off. You don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
All right. So some of you are going to go look into the occult bookstores.
Yes, me and Dietrich.
As you are spending your day looking in through the occult literature, you're finding a lot of just inane stuff that you've run across before. There's probably some of those dreaming books by Philip, what's his name, and Kramer. And the proprietor, he says to you, so you're interested in magic.
Yeah, my friend here is a bit more interested than I am, but yes.
Well, there are different levels of magic. Most of the stuff, is just make-believe. In order to get into the heavy stuff, you have to start looking in more dangerous places. There are a number of organizations that, that have and keep secrets. You there, there are Satanist groups and various. Hey, let me show you my my little collection. And he's got like a back room, and in the back room, what he's got is he's got some bookshelves. Most of the books on his bookshelves are not books; they're things that have been copied, with a mimeograph or a Xerox, and then stapled together. He says, there's, as I say, there's different schools of magic. I'm personally very interested in concepts of time and space, but there are a few really well written pieces that you might be interested in, and he hands you a few things to look at. They're mostly filled with diagrams and with almost alien-esque languages. And
I'd like to try to use my magical intuition on his collection and see if anything speaks to me.
Okay.
Because that might be more important than what language it's in.
Yes. I will leave it all to you, Dietrich. I am but a peasant when it comes to this kind of thing.
Magical intuition. So I rolled an 8 and a 4. Is there an addition to that? It's been so long since I've used anything.
It'll be plus soul, probably.
Plus soul. That makes sense. So that's 15.
Okay. Yeah, you find a couple of these that when you're looking at them, at least it seems more scholarly. It's more it doesn't just seem like nonsense that somebody's putting things together. You look at the author on one of the books, and it's Nigel Harcombe.
Oh, okay, that's worth picking up. Andre, ask him if he knows anything about this author.
What do you know about this author, Harcombe?
Oh, Harcombe?
Yes.
That's one of his aliases.
Okay. What other?
Well, I mean, and he looks around, make sure nobody's hearing. The man's has an unusual knowledge in certain fields of magic, mostly death magic. He's written a number of things like this that you can only find, usually word of mouth. There's occasionally stuff that shows up on bulletin boards, on your computer. Things that you have to really know what you're going to look for it and find it. But he's a wanted man. I mean, I'm sure that they want him all over the place because death magic usually involves sacrifice of some sort. People have gone missing, and
it explains his multiple personas. Right?
I'd say that he's probably one of the best respected and well known among those people who are really interested in magic.
He's a powerful man to know, and not someone you would want to.
He is a dangerous man to know. I'm sure that's the case.
It's something that you don't want to get on the wrong side of, I guess.
Is there? Ask him if he knows if there are texts regarding defense from death magic, or.
I'll just translate.
Well, the problem with any of the schools of magic, and it's this kind of, I mean, unless what do you know about magic? Do you know anything about the theory behind it?
You can tell him that I've been studying it in an academic way for many years.
Well, the problem, even in studying it in an academic manner, is magic isn't quite the same for every single person. We tend to think, from literature that, you find a magic spell in a book, you read the magic spell, and magic happens.
Yeah,
but
no.
the truth is it's really something inside of you that your focus unlocks. So if Nigel Harcomb's death magic is manifested, unless you were Nigel and understood how the magic is happening, I'm not sure that you could defend against it. You would somehow have to have come up with, the counter to what his soul is. Best just to avoid it. I mean, I'd shake his hand if I met him. I'd be a little scared.
Yeah. If magic worked like science, we would call it science, and everyone would have a magic tap in the kitchen, and they would turn on good luck and turn it off. We certainly want to get this text. And is there anything other in this interesting Samizdat library that is related?
Well, the thing is that this is my only copy. And these things aren't really published, but I'll tell you, I mean, you can make a copy of it.
Yeah, well, I'll happily pay to do so.
All right.
I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to avoid meeting this Harcone at some point.
Yes.
Good luck finding him.
I'm afraid he might find us.
Yes, we may have crossed paths, not physically, but for other people.
Oh, that's why you're asking about some sort of defense. You've done something to piss him off.
It's not hard to anger people who are power mad.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to have to ask you to leave my shop. And he suddenly avoids looking you in the face. He says, yeah, I'm sorry. I've got a wife and kids. I can't risk assisting you in any way. Please.
I do have the advantage of crafty. Should I try that, or should I just? I don't think we need the text. Maybe I'll just leave the poor fellow alone. What do you think?
Why don't you? Yeah. What do you want to do with crafty?
It allows me to use manipulation on people. I could say maybe the best thing, since we've unfortunately contaminated the shop, is I'll take the text away with us, and then he won't have any reason to be angry. But I kind of want to get a sense of. I mean, I'm not sure we need the text, and I'm not sure.
I'll tell you what, you can try. You'd roll for crafty, and if you pass it well enough, then you'll pretend to put the book back, but you'll slip it under your shirt, because he's not looking directly at you. He's purposefully not looking at you.
That's 13, because my intuition is not as strong as my soul.
Okay, yeah, he's not really giving you the opportunity to do that, but you do get the impression that what he's afraid of is that if Harcombe is after you, Harcombe will be able to see him through you, and then he'll be next on the list. So
we're just going to apologize and we'll leave quietly.
Okay.
Well, that could have gone better, Dietrich, but I don't think we could have avoided that.
Yeah.
There are other shops in town, so.
And, but also it's true what he says. I don't know that, well, maybe we'll look for some materials when we get to Moscow in a network that is not as timid.
Well, at least it cemented one thing. Harcombe is a dangerous man. We already kind of knew that he might be, but
we know also that what do we have a name for that text?
There wasn't really a title. It was just
we know he's got published works that we can look for.
And He uses multiple aliases as well. So.
I know one of them, but yeah. And that he's a murderer and I think a fratricide.
And the known and wanted by most agencies around the world, basically.
Well, and you also know from Ingolf's, was it Ingolf's stream? No, it was John's stream, that he knew the three Russians too. And they were death magicians as well.
So we just got to take it easy, Dietrich, and hope for the best.
All right. So I'll assume too that you've all secured train tickets, and I'm not sure exactly how far Leningrad is from Moscow. It probably says in here. I think it's only about an hour's drive. I don't know. Look on a map.
Yeah, I'd
maybe
like to
maybe it's a few hours drive.
secure our lodgings in Moscow, something nice.
Okay.
And I'd like to pull whatever strings I have to start planting the seeds of
7 hours. 7 hours by car. Sorry, Petra.
No, you're good. You're good. Planting the seeds of rumor and doubt. And actually, instead of, if possible, having a sighting of all of us, they're over there in Berlin, I would like to spread us out across Europe. So I'm going to try to say that John was last seen at a nightclub in Prague, Ingolf mooning over a book in Paris, Dietrich sipping coffee in Brussels, Dieter lurking in an alley in Portugal, and myself recruiting the vulnerable in Yugoslavia. So it'll be more difficult to pin us down.
And then I will also have the same with my friend in England, doing different sightings of each of us in separate other countries.
Okay, that sounds like an effective blanket. So what's your next move? We go to...
We said Ingolf and John, we kind of gave them a mission of scouting beforehand.
You left.
Did Dietrich and Andre, did you want to dissuade them from that after learning more about Harkon, or?
I think we were going to do it while you guys were out. So
yeah, so I wouldn't know.
That's fair.
So what you do learn a lot about the concept of different schools of magic. And death magic is considered by most to be the most dangerous of all of the magic schools. It has to do with contacting the dead. It has to do with being able to move between the realms of the living and the realms of the dead. What you also find is that most of what would be called a powerful magician, they kind of dedicate their time and their efforts, their whole lives, to the study of that magic. So it's kind of unusual that you'd find them running around unless they have some mission. They'd most likely be in their safe place in their temple, and their safe place, their temple, would be in some place that's quite secluded so that they can have peace and quiet while they're studying and performing their rituals and learning more of their stuff. So as a result, you can't actually track down Harkon as to where he is. The other name that you got, that was probably his original name, Harkon. It must be an alias. And there's probably other aliases too, because he's very careful to make sure that he's not found. Now, your guess also would be is that at some point he was in Berlin because you saw him with the Russians as friends. You might even guess that under those circumstances, he was part of the Slavic Association, which they were all part of. But then the heat came on, so he had to go from there, ultimately probably to East Berlin, and then eventually to Russia to keep away from the police. But where he is now, who knows? Or if he's involved in any of this, who knows? All right, so you've secured an area in Russia, in Moscow. How are you going to travel to Moscow?
Couple of different train routes. And
Yeah.
Petra, I sort of think it might be better if we rented a townhouse rather than had a hotel, because I want to see as few possible squealers as we can.
That's a good idea.
I think my goal for Moscow anyway is to at least infiltrate a bit of the Slava HQ, just to get a bit more information. Me being Russian and having the natural accent, I might be easier to get on their side than the UFO.
Let me spy on it safely from a distance first.
Oh yes, I definitely want you to do that before.
I'm keeping an eye on him to make sure he doesn't go woogie midway through it.
Are you doing this once you're in Moscow?
Thought this was before we left.
Yeah, this is.
It's before you left.
So while Diedrich and Andre and Petra have been off doing things.
Oh, okay. So where is it you're trying to see into?
The Slava headquarters.
Okay.
In Moscow.
You can probably find pictures of it. You know what building it's sort of in. Go ahead. You can do your.
And that is 15.
All right.
So with Forbidden Inspiration, yeah, I will choose to look to see through the illusion into a place of my choice, and that will be Slava headquarters.
Okay. And what did you get? What did you roll?
A 15.
Oh, okay. That's perfect. So you find yourself mentally in Moscow, and you're in front of a large building that was at one point a palace, probably associated with some noble person. The building itself is quite beautiful, lots of marble of different colors, paintings on the wall. And once you're inside the building, there's definitely a regal feel to it, that these are people who embrace the idea of going back to Tsarism, to having the Tsar once again rule the Russian Empire. And so you see a lot of portraits and paintings on the wall of old, probably pre-Tsarist nobles. And they kind of went all out on the regalia. I mean, you don't see a general that doesn't have medals all over them, and epaulets with gold braids. And the people who are working there, and there's quite a few of them, they're dressed somewhat ordinary, but they also tend to act in a very disciplined and almost military feeling look to them. They're quite proud of what they're doing. You're surprised at the colors. There's a lot of bright colors, the gold and the pinks and the aqua blues, and it's kind of almost fantasy like the environment, like a big birthday cake. The people seem to be engaged in pretty much normal pursuits, going back and forth. There's a doctor. He seems rather cordial, walking back and forth, chatting with people, but there's kind of a darkness around him. You do notice that. It looks like they're setting up for a party or something that could be coming up in the next few days. You walk through the building and you don't really find anything that unusual. You see a sign, though, as you move up the stairs that says something about let's see if I can find it. Something about they're using the upper stairs as a sort of a medical facility. It's a research of wartime trauma disorders. It's the foundation for the research of wartime trauma disorders. You see people at their desks doing paperwork, and it seems like part of the building towards the back is medical. There's white rooms with medical tables and things like that, like doctors' offices. But other than that, you don't really see anything weird or unusual. There's definitely a darkness to some of it, but nothing so covert as a gigantic monster lurking about.
Okay.
So fast forwarding to when me and teacher arrived.
All right. So at this point, you guys are heading for Moscow. All right. You arrive in Moscow. It's a rather lovely town. Lots of beautiful big churches with golden domes on the tops of them. You find your hotel. It's a very nice hotel. And you are now established in Moscow. What do you want to do?
I've got time to sleep on the train on the way down there.
Sure, yeah.
I'm going to spy on this Westlake fella, or whatever alias you want to give him, Harcombe, Jonathan Westlake, etc.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's have a nap.
Yep, and then see if I can pull Dietrich in, depending on what I find.
Okay. You find yourself as you drift into sleep. It feels at first like you're still in Germany, in Berlin, but there is a door that's in front of you that you're willing it to link into wherever this Harcombe might be. You step through it and you find yourself in a deserted sort of industrial area. It looks like you're in the industrial area. It's sometime in the early evening. So the only lights are on these, machine towers and things like that are around you. But there's nobody around. There's no workers or anything like that. And you get the feeling that there's something sort of pulling you towards a warehouse area, a building that's next to it. This would certainly be a fairly secluded, quiet place. In fact, you see a lot of evidence that this area is in fact abandoned, even though there are some lights on. Lights are probably mostly for security, but these buildings don't look like they've been used in a while. If there's equipment around, it's rusted and it's not being used. So an abandoned industrial area. You start moving towards the building, and you notice a couple of young guys. You'd say they're probably in their 20s. They're dressed all in black, and they just seem to be on either side of a door. Like they're just there in case somebody shows up. But they're dressed the same. So you'd think cultists. You're not sure if they can see you or not.
Mannequin time.
Okay. They don't seem to react to. Oh, you're going to turn them into mannequins?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what you're going to do. Go ahead and roll for that.
Ooh, so 12 plus my 4 in soul, 16.
All right. Both of them suddenly freeze in place. They look the same, but they've become stiff and unmoving.
Mm-hmm.
As you approach the door, however,
I was going to say call in Dietrich at this point if he isn't
okay, you pull Dietrich in. Do you have to roll for that, right?
Yeah, because it's still using Art of Dreaming. So this will be even better. And 10 plus 5 plus 4, 19.
Very nice. So you pull Dietrich in. Dietrich, we don't know where you were before, but you're suddenly standing next to John.
You're so dumbfounded and shocked.
Yeah. There's my voice. Right. Yeah, I'm snapping on the train. How long have you been here?
Not very long, just enough to take out the 2 guards. But I've got an impression that he's over that way. Well, what do we want to say if he's in there?
Are we using the dreaming to locate him in the real world, or are we?
Well, this depends on what he's dreaming about. Meaning, if he's dreaming about here, then this might be somewhere that is connected with him in the real world.
Are there windows? What's it look? Are we on the shore? Are we?
You're near the shore. These look like big warehouses. So there's like little windows way up high to let in some light, but no windows down at this level. There's some big industrial doors and some smaller doors. But
does it seem contemporary, or is he dreaming about? Okay.
I mean, it looks like this might have been built in the Stalinist era, but
there are forklifts
you still get the impression that it's abandoned. Doesn't look like there's any active stuff going on here.
Is there any overriding sound or scent, like a machine that's on, or like there's been dried blood or oil or fire?
There's no machinery going off anywhere that you can hear. I suppose it just sort of, maybe there might be a little bit of petrol smell in the air, but there's, stained concrete in places.
Normal industrial space.
Yeah, but nothing that seems active. There are places where you can see between the buildings and a bit of landscape beyond it. And it looks like the city is over in that direction, but it's far enough away that you can't really tell what city it is. Anyways, as you're walking around, the door where these 2 cultists or guards were standing, you come up.
So tempting to knock them over, but it would make noise, so I'm just not going to do it.
You come up to the door, and for lack of a better way of saying it, there is an invisible barrier. You reach for the door, and it sort of shimmers for a moment and pushes your hand away, and you can't quite get to the doorknob.
You see if we can use Art of Dreaming to move the door about 6 foot to one side. See if that circumvents the barrier.
Yeah, go ahead.
Dice are getting a little bit less on my side. 8 plus 3, 11 plus 4, 15.
Right, and if I'm aiding you, you get my +3 soul?
You need to make a separate roll to see whether you actively help or hinder.
Oh, okay. Well, you seem to have done well, and I just got here, so I'll just hold it in reserve.
The door vibrates, like something's pulling on it, and it begins to move away. And there's kind of a pattern to the way that it vibrates as you're pulling it away. And then it stops, and then the pattern goes in reverse, as it goes right back to the same spot. And you suddenly notice the two mannequins turn back into people, and they blink for a moment and they look at you and they say, "Who the hell are you?"
Couple of dreamers. Aren't you dreaming?
Well, unless you're initiates, you need to leave now.
Oh, initiates. And do the hand wave and remannequinize.
Okay. Go ahead and roll.
Initiates should be able to do that. Oh, sadly, that's a 9.
Oh boy.
Says your Jedi mind tricks don't work.
These are the droids you're looking for. Oh shit. No.
We're the droids.
Aren't.
One of them reaches into his little, whatever they are, robes, and pulls out a gun and points it at you. And he says, "You need to leave."
You sure that's a gun and not a banana? I think it's a banana. 10. No, hang on. 6 plus 2 is 8. 12.
Okay. It shimmers for a moment, but it just goes right back to being a gun. And
No, apparently it is a gun, not a banana.
the one guy says, "They're trying to fuck with us." And so the other guy also pulls out a gun, and they're going to fire. Do you guys want to just, yeah,
wake up, pink.
Yeah, either wake up or use Dreamer to get the hell out into a different dream, whichever.
Okay. Well, just for the sake of it, let's say that you guys wake up, and you wake up as you hear him firing the gun. You hear that like this, and as you wake up, there's thunder outside that's rolling across the sky. So it seems like your brain has picked up on the noise. Light rain is falling outside.
Gives us an idea potentially of where he might be, but that's kind of disturbing if he has protection against dream magics.
Yeah, if he's got good boundaries as a dreamer, and we have to chase him across the boundary from life into death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's troubling. Although there were just two of us, and we could try to circumvent things more carefully.
Mm-hmm.
Next time, maybe we'll just look and not barge in. I felt like at the very last second, I saw a tiny skinless banana come out of one of the guns.
Okay, so we'll assume then the next morning you wake up.
That was, yeah, that was on the train. So we're.
Oh, that was on the train. All right, so you arrive in Moscow. You move your stuff into the hotel. What's your first? Your townhouse. Your first order of business now that you're in Moscow.
How risky is it to start looking into Harkon?
Quite risky.
Through conventional means, not dream magic.
I suspect that. What do you think, as an expert in information, Andre? Did that bookseller send a message to Harkon in an attempt to ingratiate him?
I don't think so.
He just wants to stay out of his business.
The guy wants to stay out because if he sends a message to Harkon, then that still puts his family at risk. Because for all we know, is Harkon will then just send a guy to kill him.
Right. So yeah, I don't think there's any real world concern.
That's how I would. That's how we would do it anyway. I definitely am going to pursue Vaslava from what you have told us in Gulf. I think I can risk it a little bit. I won't push it because I will be going by myself. I'm not going to just push. I'm just going to have a cursory look around, chat to them. I know some of the old Tsarist ways, the old salute and stuff like that. So.
Well, Andre, you have enough personality quirks. You could try to pass yourself off as a veteran looking into their
that's what's my
research, their wartime trauma.
That was my plan, as long as my Master of Disguise works this time. And I have been progressing my abilities into it. So hopefully it will.
Hell, I don't know what you were doing when you were.
Well,
For God's sake, take some of this
Zinchenko.
money and buy yourself a decent look, please, a convincing look.
I am going. Well, when I get to go out of Andre, I am going to use my chameleon, but I'm not going to do it yet because basically my chameleon lasts as long as I stay in character. If I succeed.
My question is, in using those abilities, all you really are trying to do is not look like Andrei Vishenko, correct?
Yes, pretty much. And
you're not attempting to look like a member of Slava and get in the building, because that probably won't work. They're going to know their people.
Just someone who I describe myself as someone who's not Andre, who may look like someone they would talk to more than just if I was looking like. Well,
I assume that you're going to do some, you're going to, be careful and you're going to do your research. So in the process of preparing for that sort of thing, you realize that that Slava itself is, it's publicly known. The people know about it. It's not a secret organization. Once again, they're just a political group that is, kind of pro-czarist. Nobody really bothers them. There's people there's people either way that are going to write articles in the newspaper about, they're good people, and people are going to say they're anti-communist, or they're bad people, and so forth. You realize that it's bigger than you thought that it was. There's hundreds of thousands of people across Russia and other countries that are very interested in the idea of reestablishing Tsarist Russia. And you think that there are, probably tens of thousands in Moscow alone. This is the headquarters. You find out that there has been a recent change of leadership in Slava. It was originally, and for quite a long time, run by a Colonel Leskov, who you might actually even sort of recognize the name, from your past. But now it's General Strelkov, who has taken over leadership of the organization. Do a read the what is it? Read the situation.
Observe the situation.
Observe the situation.
15.
Okay. So there are some hard dates, and there are some very ambiguous pieces of information. When people are writing about this General Strelkov, it'll say things like he worked his way up through the ranks of the military in the Air Force, but it'll never say he was originally stationed at such and such or anything like that. He's come to Providence, and really the only first solid evidence of his existence, where he starts showing up in the newspapers, is the same day that you guys killed the 3 Russians. But he has the backing of the military, and he is a very, very powerful person. And nobody seems to be questioning that he seems to have appeared out of nowhere.
Yes, In Andre's head, it will be just people will follow whoever they follow. And
you also can't find any reference to where he's stationed.
It is unusual for such a high.
Yeah.
Very unusual. Like extremely unusual.
Yeah, I told you Slava's headquarters is a sort of a palace, yeah, right on the old palace. It seems like it's a large enough organization that they wouldn't be able, they might not know, you know, it's a place that you might be able to infiltrate, but you'd have to infiltrate them through sort of a legitimate means. What are the rest of you guys doing in the meantime?
Start looking into Harkon.
Okay.
Conventionally.
You find that nobody knows where Harkon is. I mean, the KGB is looking for him, but they haven't been able to locate him. The police are looking for him in multiple countries, so he's very elusive. He does occasionally put out paper. Like I say, there's occasionally stuff on. There's bits and pieces on like bulletin boards on the internet.
This new Usenet that we have heard.
It's probably a fad.
Certainly. It would be interesting to find out when Jonathan Westlake disappeared and if Harkon has any other known aliases.
Yeah.
And if we can find, if we can manage, you know, to get a modem connected to a Moscow telephone line and bleep, bloop, bloop, some death magic tome, it might be worth studying. And since we've got a private townhouse.
You could do an investigation roll.
Reason.
14.
That's good. So the first name, the one that you think Harkon's original name was, the only references to that are in England.
Okay, yeah.
And that at some point he left, and then various names begin to show up in Berlin, in East Berlin, and then here in Russia, which Harkon is here in Russia. But Harkon might be not his latest name. You're just not sure. That's what he was last known as in this town. Right. So this, I'm going to say a lot of this takes a while for you to gather this information. There is a moment, let's say Ingolf, when you are trying to look into some of this information. You're probably looking through books, you're trying to find out a little bit more about death magic and so forth. And once again, rather oddly, as you are in the stacks of a library looking through things, a woman comes down your aisle, starts walking towards you, and she gives you a smile, just sort of a polite smile. And as she passes you, she reaches out and she puts a piece of paper in your hand and then keeps going. And by the time you realize what's happened and you go to look for her, she's not there.
I'm looking at the paper. What is it?
It's got a message. It's handwritten. It says, it's an address It says Sokol Pivnya Tostogo Aleskaya 23. It's an address. And that's it.
Well, last time this happened to one of us, we found some useful information. If I pull up a map or a phone book or something and look up this address.
Yeah. You look it up on the old internet, which is called, a book. And it looks like it's a beer hall.
Perfect.
So what do you do? Do you go back and tell the others, or do you?
Yeah, I'll go back and tell them.
Okay.
I will leave out the fact that it's a beer hall, but I'll tell them I got an address.
Okay. So that afternoon or so, you guys are all back together, and Ingolf tells you about the weird encounter he had with a strange person in a library.
Does this often happen to you, that just strange people come up and make contact like this?
No. It's only happened twice now.
I was just wondering if it even happened before all this started, before all this kicked off. Just as your life as a high-profile writer finally led to some weird and interesting stuff happening.
Seems less like journalism and more like espionage.
Yeah, I mean, the last time I saw random people, doctors gave me medication for that. So this seems a little different, though, as I have a paper.
Doesn't look like your handwriting. Sokol Pivnia Olestika 23. So probably a madhouse. Probably just a recommendation for a madhouse. There's no hour or anything.
Nothing.
So
it's still fairly early in the day.
We go at least.
Yeah, I mean, we can at least go by the place.
Scope it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm back at this point as well. So from my research,
it might be somewhat stereotypical, but normally bad shit tends to happen at night. So if we go in the day, then hopefully they won't be ready for us.
Since you guys have all had eventful, seems like you have all had an eventful morning.
Harkon is a ghost. It's just really difficult to find any kind of information on him.
Kind of appropriate for a death magician being a ghost.
Yes, I have some worrying issues. Well, the previous leader was replaced by a man called Strokov, who was originally he's basically a ghost. He appeared on the day that the furry you get where I'm going.
Yeah, it's not worrying news at all, actually. That's very heartening news. It means that we have an idea about where one of these incarnations landed.
The problem is we do not, considering he is a high-class general, even if I reached out to my ex-KGB friends, he's a ghost. Like he has nowhere station.
Right. We probably weren't going to be fighting him in person anyway, though.
No.
Right?
No, but the other issue is his backing. He's got a massive military backing. He's very influential with that in such a short time, and I am working in my head a way to infiltrate, because it is possible, and it is a one-man job to infiltrate, I think. But not only a cursory infiltration, not a full-on infiltration. But I think with some of my expertise, my ex-expertise, KGB agent, I should be able to pull it off, as long as I work out the extreme details, maybe with your help, Petra.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So what do you want to do?
Should we go check this address out?
Check the address.
Sure.
Yes. And I'm staying, I don't know, but because I am the father of Ingolf, as I'm seeing myself as the father figure for Ingolf, I'm staying right next to him.
Okay, he didn't tell you it was a beer hall.
I know he didn't. I know he didn't. I know he didn't, but I stay right next to him anyway, because I hooked him in the elevator when I was scared of it falling. I'm staying next to him.
All right.
Are we going to play it all the way we did with the journalists and have a couple of us say hello and a couple of us hang back? In case this, I mean, I assume if this, you didn't get any impression of this woman at all. Is that right, Ingolf?
That's correct. She just
I think
you
smiled
should-
at me, handed me this paper, and by the time I realized she handed me something, she vanished.
It's always wise for all of us. Like we shouldn't be traveling in one clump anyway. It's much easier to recognize us that way. So yes, some
so
hiding
if-
in the wings.
If Andre has to protect his duckling, then
He is fragile human being. I have to keep an eye on him. You three are incapable of looking after him.
I
do
think I'm
apologize.
capable of looking after myself, Andre.
You are not capable.
you were none of us is arguably capable of actually taking care of ourselves. But Petra, do you have are you armed in a way that could help if there was
Yes.
a problem? All right.
Yes.
So
I am
is it
always armed.
yes?
We
Is it
know.
going to be Ingolf and Andre, and the rest of us will sit back as a group, or does we want to send a third?
Preferably someone who is at least personable. We don't want to start off on a bad foot with whoever lives at this address.
I mean, I'm pretty personable.
Okay. Well, then sure, that works.
Maybe not as much as John, but I can
Well,
get
don't drape yourself in trash, Andre, and I think you'll do
And
just
I've got
fine.
a pretty face, so it's fine.
So, i.e., are you all going, but you're going in
Yes.
separately? Okay.
Yes.
So who's going in first?
I am. I
Because
believe.
Andre and Ingolf are going to go.
Okay. All right. So you drive across town. You go into a semi-industrial area. There's a lot of them in Moscow. It doesn't look like the thing in your dreams. There's a lot of people. People are getting off of work. So it's around 5 o'clock or so. And when you get to this beer hall, it's kind of a rundown, sleazy little beer hall. There are a lot of workers that are enjoying an after work beer. It's noisy. There's music playing and so forth. And you come inside. So Ingolf and Andre, you walk in. It's chaotic. There's stuff going on everywhere. There's a large burly sort of fellow. He sees you come in and he says, "Yes, come, I'll give you a table."
Yes, greetings, comrade.
He takes you over and oddly, he sits you at a table for 6. And the place is kind of packed, but there's nobody else at the table. Please sit down.
Thank you.
So who comes in next?
Ingolf, you failed to mention this was a beer hall. Did you know?
Oh, I knew. Andre.
Who's coming in
I feel like
next
we were
after
expecting-
them?
I'll go next.
Petra, you walk in by yourself?
Yes, I think the appearance of the beer hall initially is a little like a little confusing,
Right.
and then we're like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess we
Right.
could probably.
It's crowded. It's
yeah.
public.
Yeah.
You walk in and the same burly fellow, he sees you come in. He says, please, miss, come with me. I'll get you a place to sit. And he takes you over and sits you at exactly the same table.
I just needed a table for one.
No, you want to sit here with your friends.
I don't know these men.
Yes, you don't.
I'll just Petra's like stare. Like
He says, but you fit the description exactly as it was told to me. So I think these are your friends. Where are the other two? I suppose they're going to come in separately as well.
So,
Bring it up
John,
the rear at least.
I was thinking we'd see if there's any ferries, sightseeing tours, maybe a museum stop.
Take the scenic route in, yeah.
This beer hall has one entrance.
Probably it has back door and the side door.
But they went in. It's crowded and boisterous. And Petra went in. Nobody came out or banged on a window.
Right.
So we're gonna get the treatment.
Right. So when you come inside, he sees you. He sets you at the same table. He gets you all round of beers.
You can have one. You can have one, Ingle. Just one.
I'm glad I have your permission for one.
My
Maybe
friend, thank you for helping arrange this. You got a reservation for us from whom?
Oh, well, you'll find out soon enough. I wanted to make sure you all had something to drink. You won't be disappointed. I promise you won't be disappointed. I'm just a middleman. I'm not really involved, but
What is your name?
we
my good
have
man?
to right now, we have to keep a level. And he's saying this rather loudly, but there's so much noise going on. Yeah. He says, we have to keep a level of security, you know, how it goes in these desperate times. He says, and he sort of leans in where you can barely hear him, you know, but he's not broadcasting it. He says, now a car will pick you up at the Mayakovsky Square tonight at 7:00. If you're there, then they will come and take you. And you'll understand eventually. You won't be disappointed. And then he sort of turns and he goes back to, well, what are you doing there? You know, stop it out, you know, like this. And he goes back to like serving the other customers.
This is the Moscow I remember. Rowdy and full of drunks.
Yeah,
None of
and
that beer is getting anywhere near these lips.
Oh, come on, Jean. Just one. Proper Moscow beer.
I'd love one that maybe hasn't been tampered with or had something slipped in it, because this does seem remarkably dodgy.
here. Oh, let's.
Do I sense anything dodgy, Tom? No. If I
He
sniff,
doesn't give us an address at a time and drug the beer in the beer hall and drag us out. They're going to
it
kill
is
us in the
safe.
car at Mayakovsky Square.
John,
Something.
Prost.
trust me, it is safe. I would warn you if it was not. I have a way of telling.
Russian beer is not German beer, though.
Sex in a canoe. Yeah.
Russian beer, no. Reminds me of the good old days.
There's a reason you people drink vodka. Your beer is not.
Yeah, vodka is very good. Your German beer is very, very good. Very good. Better than this one. But your spirit's not so much. Vodka is.
Well, John, if you don't want yours, I'll take it.
I said you could have two. Yes, that's fine.
So he goes back to doing his job, which is, you know,
And it's about 2 hours before 7:30.
time was it 7:00?
I thought he said
7:00.
7:30. 7:00. Sorry. And how far from here, Andre, is Mayakovsky Square?
Well, not that far, I don't think.
Not
Let me remember Moscow, but not very far.
So maybe we should just eat and. I mean, we're being watched, and we've been described to this man.
We need to eat. Whatever is coming, it is better to have some sustenance in our bodies.
The beer tastes okay. I mean, it's not German beer, but
it's not German beer. It's not poison. It's not drugged.
Beer and food. Then we go to this meeting. Me and Petra are on alert anyway. If something is afoot, we can.
And I am like watching the beer garden as we all eat, just trying.
While we're in Russia, I am always
alert,
looking because if I see someone who remotely looks like a KGB agent or undercover KGB agent, I am definitely on it.
Our friendly host, who's got a specific description of us, what does he feel like? Does he feel like mafia or intelligence, or
he acts very much like a hospitable beer bartender or owner? Maybe he's the owner of the place.
We used to use some informants sometimes who would act as our go-between. Someone who comes across nice and friendly and bubbly. So it could be anyone. It could be a high government official. It could be a KGB agent. It could be a mafia.
It could be
anyone.
a friend who we've been trying to find.
Exactly. It could be anyone of note who would use this way.
Andre, you can do read the situation.
15 again. Wow.
Okay. It does come across to you. It seems like the kind of clandestine bullshit that the KGB would do, especially if it was somebody who didn't want to be seen with you but needed to have a meeting with you, and it was like jumping through hoops to get. If he said that there would be cars to pick you up, the cars will most likely take you some secret location and
drop us off to get
and
picked
then
up.
it sounds like, it doesn't sound like something like a mafia would do, or
more government.
Most likely it's some government official or somebody who wants to have a conversation with you but not get traced.
And notably, instead of slipping Ingolf a slip of paper, this smiling girl could have slipped him a shiv, and they're obviously well informed about us, and we're wanted internationally. So
that's pretty clever wordplay, Dietrich. Have you ever considered trying to write anything yourself?
You know, some of us are readers only.
Dietrich, I reckon you could write a very good story.
Maybe if we survive all of this, there's a fantasy series.
And maybe a film, one of those films get made about it.
So you drink some, you eat some.
When Andre goes to the bathroom, I get a vodka shot for Ingolf, me, and John. Petra, if she wants.
There better be one for me. I know I'm not there, but you better order one for me.
One thing that is odd, or not odd, but yeah, you don't have to pay for anything. It's on the house.
The other staff at this place, I mean, we can't get can we get a regular waiter? Or does only he come back? But they're just like, we have you, sir. Yeah, okay.
You just grab whoever's available and they'll get you whatever you want. And nothing in the whole place seems out of place. It just seems like a cheap little beer place where they're selling, all these people are from, you can hear their conversations. You just got off of work. It's a hard day, blah, blah, blah. Nothing really stands out as sinister or dangerous. So then are you all going to go?
Yes, after buying the shittiest vodka they have, like the shittiest, the proper Russian experience vodka, I am then going to give each of them the shot, and we are going to toast to it. For getting through this bullshit. For battling and winning. To us. And then I die.
So later on, you end up at Mayakovsky Square, which is fairly populated. There's a lot of people wandering around, and there's kind of nightlife here and there. It's not dark yet. It's only 7 o'clock, but the sun is, on the horizon going down. Promptly, right at 7 o'clock, these two large black sedans pull up right where you're standing. They park, and two fellows get out. They are what you would call, it looks like a cross between a limo driver and a bouncer. They're fairly large, muscular fellows. They're dressed in suits. And they come around and open up the doors for you. Unless you say something to them, they don't really say anything back.
Are they packing heat? I would pay attention.
I don't think so.
I'll get in one.
Right this way, please. Yeah.
Why do they need two for us is the thing. I'd like
people
to
guarding us in each one, probably.
I'm going to try to observe the situation and see if something stands out about the two vehicles or the situation. Ooh, 18. My eyes are wide open.
The diversion tactic.
You do realize they are unmarked vehicles. So they don't have licenses.
Governmental. Is there room for all five of us in one of them?
Probably not. Well, maybe. You could fit a couple in the back seat and one up in the front with the driver.
They're not big limos. They're
not
big.
large
cars. They're town cars.
They're sedans.
Right. So it doesn't. I see nothing that alarms me. I think we should have one Russian speaker in each of them, though. So,
I don't think we're going to part Papa with his baby bird. So perhaps the two of them in one and the three of us in the other.
Yeah,
sounds good.
He has just had a lot to drink. I need to keep an eye.
All right.
Okay. So you get in the cars. You notice that the drivers, if you ask them anything, they're very soft spoken and very to the point.
No one else is in either vehicle. It's just the drivers and us.
No one else is in them. And so they start to drive. They start to drive. And for about a half an hour or so, they're driving here and there through the city. And you definitely get the impression that they're making sure they're not going in any direct route. Yeah, they're winding around. As a result, though, you have no idea where you are. And the sun's gone down. You pull in front of a building that says Western Forest Sleep Products. It's an old, dingy building. It looks like it has some apartments up above. It's very nondescript out in the middle of, just an area that other buildings like it. So you get out of the car and you're led inside, and you notice that all of the blinds in the windows of the building are pulled closed, so that you can't see in from the outside. You go inside, and there is a woman, a short woman with tan hair. She's sitting behind a desk, and they sort of it looks kind of almost like a waiting room. And she says, "Yes, please have a seat. The colonel will be with you in a few moments." It's the first time she said colonel. Andre, do a read the situation.
Okay. 18.
18, very good.
This is not looking good for later on.
There are There are little indicators as you're looking around. They're trying to be very, very discreet, very incognito, but you're dead sure this is KGB. And after a few moments, she comes. She gets a thing on the intercom, and she says, "Please come with me." And she takes you down the hall. And she opens up the door on the end. You can see that the name on the there's no name on the door. Sorry, they're being discreet. She says, "Please write in here. The colonel will see you." And as you step inside, Andre and Petra, seated behind a desk, well, she's standing behind the desk now as you come in, is a woman. She's very severe looking. She looks like she might be in her early 50s. She carries herself very much like a military person, a colonel. They keep calling her colonel. And she says to you, "I am Zoya Selenova of the KGB's Internal Affairs Unit." Okay. But Dietrich, Ingolf, and John, as you step into the room and the door is closed behind you, standing behind the desk is a very intimidating looking lictor with sharp fangs and tubes and things. It looks like it might be, it's definitely not as large as the bishop, but it definitely has the same sort of cast as the bishop. It's obviously not a human being. It is a lictor. And in surprise and terror, you sort of look at it, and she looks at you and chuckles. And that's where we're going to cut her off tonight.
Shit. Shit on two fronts. Another lictor and KGB shit.
All right.
Very good. Good place to end it.
That's good.
Do our recap. I mean, our
probably one of the three that could actually see her for who she was would be a good recap giver.
We've got our questions and upkeep, haven't we, as well?
Questions and upkeep.
Located one of the incarnates, haven't you?
I think we have.
But not two.
Yeah, we have located two.
I did investigate Slava.
I think, yeah. I
tried to investigate Arkham.
I have more Black Book, but we did do more death magic. Are we going to count that?
Guess it's up to Tom if that counts.
Did you say specifically Black Book?
That's what I wrote down last week.
Well, I'll tell you what you kind of can piece together from what happened to you this time around is that the real literature, the real dark magic stuff is not usually published in books. So the Black Tome may in fact be one of a kind, unique, never copied. So it's like researching it's almost impossible. It's mostly legend, but it's a legend that sort of fits.
So we've learned about the Black Tome, and that we've learned that it's samizdat copies of various texts, including the chunk that we saw, and that it's a death magic tome. It's a death magic compilation or something. Right. Sounds good.
My secondary was I should learn about death magic, but I didn't do much of that investigation yet. So,
right, that it's learning about death magic is kind of hard because The most you can learn about is that there is something called death magic and that it's really dangerous. And that's about it, because to actually learn about death magic, you have to meet a death magician who teaches you death magic, which God knows what he makes you do to learn it.
Something very squishy.
Yeah, so I should probably drop that hook for something else.
Yeah.
But no points from it. Okay, that makes sense. Coolio.
All right, 3 questions.
Have we discovered anything new about the truth?
Hints that there's the different types of magic, because they did mention about, they name drop time and space as well as death.
Yeah, the realm between the death and the living.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's, Dietrich would have been satisfied to think there was a real world and a dream world. He didn't need to know that there was also a death world and a live world.
Mm-hmm.
And these skills, or lack thereof. Dietrich has yet to learn anything about himself, though.
Yeah, I haven't learned anything about myself.
I might be on my way to learning more about myself. Actually, maybe I have. Maybe I figured out I am more of a father figure than
I've learned that Andre is very protective of me.
Which may end up being deadly for me. For being so protective of you.
What was the third question?
Challenge oneself.
Have we challenged ourselves?
I feel like there was a risk in doing some of the things. I don't know that that's necessarily a challenge, but I mean, we did accept some risks this session.
I don't know how challenging they were, though.
That's fair.
Going into the dream, I mean, between all the dream powers and the ability to the ability for them to just leave at any time things went wrong, wasn't too much risk.
I mean, getting in a car with strangers.
Well, it's challenging for me considering I had an inkling that I could be KGB related or something similar, and I've gone into the belly of the beast. For me,
Well, literally in this sense.
Yeah.
All she needs to do is open really wide, and you can climb on in.
That may end up happening. Yeah, that's right.
I think, though, that you made a good assumption that if they wanted to just kill you,
they would have killed me.
True. It's true.
Yeah,
and if they wanted to arrest me or detain or knew or whatever, they would have done it.
Well, in fact, I mean, as I'm not ex-KGB and don't have your particular anxiety, but clearly, like, I preferred meeting this lictor in the back of a limousine to meeting the last one who pounded into a building and nearly annihilated me before recognizing my innocence. This is kind of chill. That's what the kids say.
And she's got a nice last name, Selenova.
Until she spots certain things. Yeah.
No, that's
I think
my last
she's aware.
gesture. Yeah. She got the newsletter.
I have a feeling we're just lit up like a beacon for certain.
I also suspect that the bishop's never going to show up again. We're going to just be passed along like poor Scrooge from one to another.
At least we know we're on the right track.
Okay. So
no, we do.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we know we are on the right. I mean, we've got a location, a probable location for the incarnate, and a new connection to.
I do need another hook.
Yeah, I think we all. I'm assuming we keep the primary of locate the other 2 incarnates because we haven't done that.
No, we've located one.
We don't know where they are, though, right? We know of their position, but we don't know where they are physically.
Oh, yeah.
So do you want us to keep that one, Tom? That was the one you gave us.
We don't know specifically where they are.
At this point, it's like the only thing that I can think of is, figure out what the hell's going on.
But don't we know that the second incarnate is in the Slava compound?
We know he's in charge.
No.
We know he's in charge.
No, I looked at the Slava compound and he was not there.
Not physically there when you looked, at least, right?
The main thing was He isn't stationed anywhere.
There was a doctor there who's pretty suspect from having a dark aura, who probably would know where he is.
Right.
Could assume he was the only magical anything in there.
Where my infiltration will come in handy if I get a chance to do it.
Maybe keep that one then.
I mean,
I think we all need
maybe this Lictor, who is part of the internal affairs of the KGB, might be able to help us find.
All right. So stock incarnates is still valid.
Yep.
I know I shouldn't give things for my second one. Maybe it should be Slava related because that's why.
I mean, could it be broad, like continue to investigate Slava, or I don't know.
The problem with what Ingolf does is he can sort of wander around invisibly, mostly invisibly, in a place like Slava, but he doesn't know what he's looking for. And he can't really pick things up and look at them.
Right.
Like documents and stuff. Probably infiltration is a direction you're going to have to go, at least at some point.
So
infiltrate Slava. Good one.
And since they've got hundreds of thousands of members, it might make sense. You can easily impersonate
whoever.
I mean, you can't. You just have to think what organizations might be visiting.
Yeah.
Germanische Gemeinschaft.
Yeah, I could suppose so. Yeah.
Okay,
I might actually surpass my chameleon next time.
Infiltrate might work for us all.
Yeah, maybe. Okay. I mean, you have to use your own judgment in that.
Is that our secondary one?
I feel like they both work, finding the two incarnates, infiltrate Slava, however that looks for each of us.
Okay, is that everything?
Yep.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
For spending points, which we can do at leisure.
Right. Our players included Matthew Sanderson, David Gasaway, Holly Buteau, Morgan Llewellyn, and Josh Harwood, with yours truly as the game master. We have a Discord server where you can chat with our other members. You can set up private games. You can learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastering. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. If you'd like to help support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 a month helps us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch the bell icon for the updates on our latest shows, and leave us some comments. We enjoyed reading them and answer any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the strange and terrifying world of KULT Divinity Lost role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.